Hey guys, want to make your home cozier and save a little more money? Take a free online energy assessment from Energy Trust of Oregon. It's fast, easy, and gives you personalized tips to boost your home energy savings, lower bills, and more comfort. Shoot, I'm taking this quiz. Let's take it together at visitenergytrust.org/assessment. We can join thousands of Oregonians already making smarter energy moves. That's energytrust.org/assessment.
You can make a difference in someone's life, including your own, with a job in home care. These jobs offer flexible schedules, healthcare, retirement options, and free training. They also provide paid time off and opportunities for overtime. Visit OregonHomeCareJobs.com to learn more and apply. That's OregonHomeCareJobs.com.
We often talk about Portland's homelessness crisis in terms of the tents and encampments that we see on our streets. But there's another side of this crisis that's far less visible: families with children. So today on CityCast Portland, we're talking with Brandy Tuck, Executive Director of Path Home, which is one of the only local nonprofits dedicated exclusively to serving homeless families. We're talking with Brandy about what's being done and why families struggling with homelessness are often left out of the broader conversation in our region. It's Wednesday, September 24th. I'm Claudia Meza, and this is what Portland's talking about. Okay, so before we jump into our conversation with Brandy, I wanted to announce that today is the first day of our Fall Portland Neighbors membership campaign. It's that time of year again when we remind you that while this daily podcast is totally free, we still need your support to make it happen. And you can support us for just $10 a month or $100 a year by becoming a CityCast Portland neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. We believe better neighbors make better cities, and it's our mission to equip you to be a better neighbor every day by keeping you informed on important local issues like our ongoing housing crisis. Being a good neighbor isn't just wanting to help, it's knowing how to help. And CityCast Portland is bringing you that awareness with resources and knowledge in order for you to make your best move in improving our city. Now, if that sounds like something you'd like to support, head on over to membership.citycast.fm. That's membership.citycast.fm. All right, back to our chat with Brandy Tuck from Path Home. So earlier this year, the county reported about 150 families in local shelters, but experts say that the real number of homeless families is much higher. From your perspective, what's a more accurate picture of family homelessness in our region?
Yeah, there's a few different data sources that we use to determine how many people are experiencing homelessness in our community. We have the point-in-time count, which is where outreach workers scour the city looking for people who are homeless and counting them. We also have the new by name list, which is a list of people that have interacted with any homeless services sector services. And so people get counted by that. And both of those methods really undercount families with children, because families are hiding from those very outreach workers that are going around trying to count all the people who don't have homes. And families aren't able to access most of the services where the by name list is populated. All of those services are exclusively for single adults. So the other data source that we have that often isn't looked to is the Oregon Department of Education numbers. They count how many students experience homelessness every school year. And every year for the last decade or so, there's been about between 3,000 and 4,000 students in Multnomah County alone who experience homelessness. And that doesn't count their little siblings who are not yet in school and who are not yet counted by the Department of Education. And it doesn't count their parents. At Path Home, half of the kids we serve are under the age of 5. So I would argue there's another at least 2,000 or 3,000 little kiddos, plus the 3,000 or 4,000 school kids, plus all their parents. So we're talking about 7,000, 8,000, 9,000, 10,000 kids and parents just in Multnomah County every year that are homeless.
Yeah, so that's a lot more than 150 families.
It sure is.
But also, when they do these counts, they're also not counting people who are couch surfing and stuff like that, is what I've been told. And I know that a lot of families having gone through the same experience myself, you're couch surfing at your aunt's house. You're staying with friends. You're not like unsheltered, but you don't have a home. And so it's pretty much the same thing. So when people think about homelessness, they often do picture these single adults living outside, but services are actually divided by, as you were explaining, different categories. Families, youth, survivors of domestic violence, and then single adults. Can you explain how that system is set up and how it affects families getting resources?
Yeah, the Homeless Services Department here in Multnomah County is the coordinator and funder and convener of all the homeless services in our community. And they have, like you said, these 4 separate systems: adults, youth, families, and domestic violence. All of the systems are very siloed from each other. There's not any communication or coordination that goes on between any of those service sectors. And so the population that shows up in the point in time count and the by name list are the single adults. So when decision makers decide funding and policy decisions, they make decisions based on the point in time count and the by name list, and they're not making decisions based on the Oregon Department of Education numbers. And so what we see is that the adult system is far larger than the other 3 systems, the domestic violence, families, and youth. And that's not because there are more adults than there are families. We just said that how many families there are that are experiencing homelessness. It's because they're the visible homeless population. And so what that means is that families, youth, and domestic violence survivors get very small piece of the pie when it comes to how much funding is allocated to the systems. The homeless family system gets less than 10% of the overall homeless services dollars, and the youth and the domestic violence systems are similar. We all get about 5 to 10% of the total homeless services resources, and the other, 75% goes to single adults.
Yeah. Well, so how is Mayor Wilson's policy push to end unsheltered homelessness helping families? Is that part of the equation?
Yeah, not really. No. The services that the mayor is focused on really are focused on that visible homeless population, which are the single adults. The families are hiding, and they're intentionally hiding because they don't want someone to take their kids, whether it's a kidnapper or the state of Oregon, Child Protective Services. They're really afraid. And so they are hiding deep in the woods. They camp, but they don't come to their tents until very late at night after it gets dark, and they wake up super early and leave before anyone can see them. And like you said, too, they're couch surfing. They're one night at grandma's house, then another night at their neighbor's house, and then another night at their aunt's house, and they go back to grandma's for 2 nights and maybe their aunt's. I mean, it's really an unstable situation for these kids who never know where they're going to have a place to do their homework or brush their teeth or where they're going to be sleeping. And so the mayor's shelters that he's setting up, there's not any conversation about families in any of these spaces. And it's not a best practice to combine different populations. So we would never want to have a shelter that has half single men and half families.
Of course.
And so these shelters that are being stood up are all for single adults to the exclusion of homeless families.
Yeah. Well, let's take a quick break here. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the shelters and the sources that are so far available to these families. Paint Care has 3 simple rules to help you paint smarter. 1, buy only what you need. Determining the right amount of paint for your next project can be tricky, but tips like measuring your space and asking your local paint store for advice will help ensure you have enough for your project while minimizing waste. 2, use up what you have. Look around your house and find simple DIY projects where you can use up your paint. Or you could give away your leftover paint to friends, neighbors, or community groups who could benefit from it. 3, recycle the rest at convenient locations like your neighborhood paint store. Paint Care even offers direct pickups for households and businesses with more than 100 gallons of leftover paint. Learn more or find a paint drop-off site near you at paintcare.org/3simplerules. If you've been thinking about replacing your old and drafty windows, Window Nation is having a flash sale right now that's running through September 30th, where they're taking 60% off all windows. And you can choose from over 1,500 styles and colors, and Window Nation uses windows made right here in Portland by Milgard that come with a lifetime warranty. Window Nation also has an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and over 45,000 5-star reviews. There's a reason Forbes recently ranked them highest on their list of best window installation companies. You can trust Window Nation for high-quality, affordable windows. And right now, you can also put zero down, make zero payments, and pay zero interest for 2 years. That's right, you could pay nothing until 2027. Schedule a fast, free estimate now with Window Nation at windownation.com. That's windownation.com. License number OR 249065.
Learning a new language opens the door to new friends, new cultures, maybe even a whole new life. So why not start that journey today? I'm CityCast CEO David Plotz, and I'm learning Spanish with Babbel. Babbel's conversation-based technique quickly teaches you useful words and phrases about the things you actually talk about in the real world. I've been practicing my Spanish with Babbel's AI conversation partner. I can choose my conversation topic and have a real-time dialogue. It's great at helping me think on my feet, and it's improving my pronunciation. Also, it's really easy to do anytime on my phone using Babbel's excellent mobile app. It's just one of the many fantastic Babbel tools for learning. Plus, Babbel has a real-time feedback, progress trackers, and handy visualizations, all of which make it really easy to stay motivated to learn. I want you to learn another language. So CityCast is teaming up with Babbel to gift you 55% off subscriptions, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/citycast. Get up to 55% off at babbel.com/citycast. Spelled BABBEL.com/citycast. Babbel.com/citycast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Hey, this is CityCast Portland senior producer Julia Fiaioni jumping in real quick to remind listeners about the perks that come with being a CityCast Portland neighbor. We've got members-only events where we explore and better our city together, like a specialized Portland neighborhood tour, a weekly email with handpicked events from around the city to help you get out in the community, the opportunity to shout out a local business or organization doing good work in Portland. And we can't forget ad-free listening to the CityCast Portland podcast. That's like 3 minutes at least of your life back. Plus, during our fall campaign, anyone who joins is getting our extra special Neighbors Make Portland tote. It's really just a reminder that when neighbors show up, our city really thrives. So please take a moment to support this show and let us shower you with all of the perks. Join right now for $10 a month or $100 a year at membership.citycast.fm. That's membership.citycast.fm. Now back to the conversation.
So Brandy, Path Home is one of only 2 shelters in the region specifically for families. That number really surprised me. I thought there would be, at least 3. So what makes the needs of families different from other groups experiencing homelessness?
Yeah, the family system is set up where every family who is in a shelter gets their own individual private space, where they have real furniture and doors that lock. And that's really important for a family's healing from the crisis and trauma of homelessness. And so there used to be 3 shelters in the family system. One of them just closed at the end of June this year. But the family system has some motel shelters. Our Just Future runs Lilac Meadows, which is a motel shelter on 72nd and Powell. So each family gets their own motel room. And then we have Family Village here at Path Home. It's our shelter for 17 families at a time. Each family has their own individual private bedroom. And we are the first shelter in Oregon that features trauma-informed design and architecture. And this is a kind of built environment that helps people heal from the trauma of homelessness. So families are able to come in and they have access to, their own private space, but all kinds of common spaces like a library, computer lab, living rooms, play areas. We have a central kitchen and dining room, and then we have lots of outside space like a playground, basketball court, and community gardens.
Well, if there's only 2 shelters, how often do you hear from families that need shelter, but there's just no space?
We hear every day from families that need shelter that we have to tell them the way you get into shelter in Multnomah County is by going through the Homeless Services Department coordinated entry process. So you call 211 and you ask to be connected to the homeless family system, and then they do an assessment with you to determine if you're eligible. And if you are, you get placed on a wait list. And right now, that wait list is between 9 and 12 months long.
Oh my God.
It's really rough. And so we have families calling us, showing up at our door, asking for support, asking for help, and we have to turn them away and tell them, call the wait list, get in line, and, hopefully we'll see you in a year. It's really hard.
Man, that sounds so rough. I can't imagine waiting a year in limbo and having small children. So, from the people who are able to get your services, what do you hear from families who are using the shelter? Like, what is their response to the resources?
Yeah, because we have this beautiful trauma-informed design and architecture space, it's set up to really help people heal, to help people feel safe, to help people have power and control and voice and choice over how they receive services. So families tell us this place makes them feel calm and peaceful and hopeful for the future. And they say Family Village makes them feel like Path Home cares about them. And so that's the most important thing for us. I mean, I think the kids don't even really realize they're in a shelter. They are happy to be here. They love it. It's a big community. We have bingo nights and cultural heritage events and movie nights and games and activities all the time. It's the families really get to know each other and become this community. We had a few months ago, a little girl was turning 6 years old, and she wanted to have a birthday party. All of her friends at school have birthday parties. So she came and asked her mom, can I have a birthday party here at Family Village? And the mom was like, oh no, I don't think so. Like, I'll ask the staff, but I don't know. So she came and asked, and the staff were like, yes, of course, you can have your friends over and have a birthday party. But for us, that was really impactful because this little girl wasn't ashamed. She wasn't embarrassed or afraid to bring her friends here. This is just where she lives, and she wants her friends to come over. And so it was a really kind of poignant moment for what this place is. When families leave and they move into housing, 98% of families from our shelter move back into permanent housing. When they leave, of course, they're happy to move into their new home. They're excited. But they don't really want to leave Family Village because it's such a beautiful community and they do feel so safe here. So it really is a really sweet and special space.
A 98% success rate is incredible. Seriously, that is incredible. Have you guys thought about expanding into affordable housing? Because like a lot of these families that are homeless, they are single parent households. And it's a big reason why they're experiencing homelessness. And if they had that kind of community within, a more of a living situation where they are paying rent, where they are looking after, each other as a community, I think it'd be so cool.
Yes, well, and it's so fun that you ask that because you did not know this, but we are in the process of building 38 units of permanent affordable housing right here on our Family Village campus. We will break ground in a year from now, and we will have only 2 and 3 bedroom units, so family-sized apartments, and that's really the intention. We want to be a one-stop shop for families where they have access to shelter and housing, and then all the services that they need: mental health care, domestic violence intervention, employment training, childcare, and most importantly, the relationships, the community that really supports and propels people to be able to access the things that they need to change and improve their lives.
That is so awesome. And especially because I'm sure you guys are also seeing that sometimes when people experience homelessness in their youth, it's almost like a pipeline. Like it's just something that continues because they've never gotten a sense of normalcy of like, well, this is how you're supposed to exist in this community, in this larger society. And these are the rules, to quote unquote survive. And I feel like when you get those tools at a very early age, it just puts you at a larger advantage. And so the fact that you guys are providing that and then continuing, that's amazing.
Yeah, and I do want to say that the number one most predictive factor for whether you will experience homelessness in your life is if you experienced it before. And so all these kids that are without housing right now, they really do become the pipeline of homeless adults in the future.
Wow. I mean, yeah, it makes sense. I remember hearing that because I experienced homelessness as a child. And so it really was always in the back of my head. To make it about me for 1 second, when I was graduating from high school, I asked my mom for advice. I was like, Mom, do you have any advice? Because I was moving myself to the Northwest. I got into college. I was paying for it myself, all this stuff. And she was like, buy a van because you just never know. And I was like, thanks, Mom.
Oh my goodness.
And I did, though. I did buy a van. Never needed it, but it was good advice.
Yeah, for sure. And those are the kind of survival skills, right?
Yeah.
That families learn. You got to have somewhere to live just in case. So make sure you have a van because it's going to be more comfortable than like a Civic.
Yeah, luckily I ended up just using it to tour in a van, but still, had a van. So can you walk us through what happens when a family first arrives at Path Home? Like what kinds of services and supports they receive, the moment they're walking through that door?
When families first come, they have been referred to us from this wait list. So they've been waiting a long time to come into shelter. And when they get here, we do an intake with them where they sit down with our family advocate. And we just kind of go over the community guidelines and our handbook for shelter and get people kind of situated and welcomed. We don't have a lot of rules in shelter. We have some guidelines and some community best practices that we ask people to abide by. But it's really a safe, warm, and welcoming kind of environment for families. So we go through the handbook. And we give families all the things that they need to get settled. They get new sheets, new blankets, all new bedding, all new towels and linens, and then they can take all of that with them when they move out of shelter at the end. We give them all of their cleaning supplies. Everyone gets a trash can and a broom and a mop and some cleaning spray and paper towels and things like that. Plus, we give every family a house plant that they can have in their room with them. And so then we just help them get settled. We check in with them. They have immediate access to all the common spaces. So we have 24 hours of food and 3 meals and snacks a day. We have the library and the computer lab. And after about a week of families being here, we just give them a week to kind of get settled, get in their new routine. And then they start meeting with their housing specialist case manager. And that housing specialist is there to really help them set some goals and come up with a plan on how they can move back into permanent housing. And that housing specialist works with them for the entire time they're in shelter with a focus of helping them find housing. When they move out of housing, they give another case manager, a retention specialist, who stays with them for a year or sometimes 2 years to provide all the services that they need so they can keep their housing long term. And 93% of families keep their housing long term because of the support that Path Home provides them.
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming that funding might be the number one challenge since it seems like structurally you guys got this down. But beyond more dollars, what changes would make it easier for families to get into and stay in housing?
I think the biggest thing is rent assistance and that long-term case management. Those are the two biggest factors. And there's an evidence-based practice called Housing First that we believe in, where we help people minimize the time they're in homelessness and move quickly back into housing. We provide rent assistance to them, and then we provide all the services that families need so that they can really keep their housing long term. And our community really only funds those first two parts. We help people move out into housing, and then we provide some rent assistance as a Multnomah County community. But we really need to be providing so much more rent assistance to help families truly stabilize. And then those long-term case management services, those are critical. So if we could invest in those services for everybody, but especially for the families with children, then we would have much greater success in reducing homelessness in our community.
Yeah. Especially, again, since this is a proven pipeline. So how can people help? Like if, I don't work for the county, I know we have some really active listeners who would love to help. Like what is a good place for them to put this energy? Where should they go?
There are so many ways that people can help. You can come volunteer at Path Home. We have volunteers who help us with dinner every day. We call them kitchen helpers. So you can come in and help our chef Josh make dinner and serve it to the families. And then you do lots of dishes as well. But it's a really great time to get to be in shelter and spending time with the kids and their parents who are here. We have grounds crew that helps with landscaping. We do turnover teams that help us turn over the bedroom so new families can come in. And we also have play space where volunteers come in and do activities and play with the kids. So volunteering is a great way. Of course, you can donate. You can donate time. You can donate money. You can donate supplies. When we give families those new sheets and their blankets and their linens and their cleaning supplies, a lot of that comes from donations from the community. And so we always welcome those in-kind donations as well. And then I think too, and this one is really important, you can advocate with your city councilors, your county commissioners, to really make sure that they understand how prevalent family homelessness is, how many kids in our community don't have housing, and how imperative it is that we provide services. Because in my opinion, kids are the most vulnerable population. And so we would really welcome your advocacy with our elected officials to focus on the kids and families.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Brandy, for your time today and for your work. We will put links in our show notes to make it easier to volunteer, donate, and any other resources that you're suggesting. When John, our executive producer, brought this idea up to speak about families experiencing homelessness, it made us both realize, we're like, oh my God, we've never talked about it. And that's crazy. We've been putting out a daily show for almost 3 years, never talked about families experiencing homelessness. So, I mean, if it's a podcast, I can only imagine policymaking, So this is really important work that you're doing. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for shining a light on this and having this conversation.
And a quick thank you to our newest members, Brandon M., Hope J., and Nate R. If you'd like to join our membership program and also grab yourself a free tote bag, that's right, we've got new merch. Head over to membership.citycast.fm. That's membership.citycast.fm. That's all for today here on CityCast Portland. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, share it with a friend or rate and leave us a good review. It really helps us out. And don't forget, you can support this show and get some great perks by becoming a CityCast neighbor. Just visit membership.citycast.fm for all the details. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more from around the city. Until then, see you with Slims. Hello, it's Claudia Meza, host of CityCast Portland. You probably know from listening to the show that I love Portland and I love helping you feel more connected to it. But the only reason this show works is because of you. You tune in because you're genuinely invested in the local conversation. And if I had to guess, I'm thinking you're someone who shops local whenever possible. You've probably signed a petition or two to help out your neighbors, and I wouldn't be surprised if you're carrying your library card right now in your wallet. If this sounds like you, I'd like to invite you to join CityCast Portland Neighbors. Our membership program is designed to help folks like you who care about our city engage more deeply with life here. You'll get invites to member-only events like happy hours, insider tours, and volunteering opportunities. You'll also get a curated weekly roundup of the best things to do in the city and the chance to share what you love about Portland on our podcast and newsletter. Plus, your membership directly supports the people making this podcast so we can keep bringing you the local stories that matter. Become a CityCast Portland neighbor for only $10 a month or $100 a year at membership.citycast.fm. That's membership.citycast.fm. And now through October 3rd, when you sign up, you get this awesome tote bag that says, "Neighbors Make Portland." Because it's true, when neighbors show up, our community thrives. So if you join today, you'll get that tote at membership.citycast.fm. Thank you so much.